I never thought the worst day of my life could get worse. But there I was at 6 in the morning, boots still dusty from the Montana cemetery, staring at two strangers in cheap suits measuring my fence line like it was Black Friday real estate. A giant public auction. This Saturday sign had been hammered straight into the grass my grandfather planted in 1967, and right there on my own driveway stood Victoria Langford, HOA president, real estate shark, and self-appointed queen of Willow Creek Estates. Already on her phone screaming to 911 that I was trespassing on property that had been in my family for 3 generations. "This is my land," I said quietly, voice still raw from the eulogy I'd cut short to race home. Victoria flashed that plastic smile she practiced in the mirror and replied, "Mr. Harlan, you're in violation of a court order. These gentlemen have every right to be here." Right then I knew. The woman who once fined me $250 for aesthetically displeasing cattle grazing had decided my grief was the perfect time to steal everything I had left. My name is Ryan Harlan, third-generation rancher, 47 years old, and the only thing standing between my 16-year-old daughter Lily and the loss of the only home she's ever known. After my wife Claire died of cancer 2 years ago, it's just been me, Lily, and 30 head of cattle keeping the 47-acre spread alive. The cedar fence, the red barn, even the gravel road, every inch built by my grandfather with his own hands. 3 years ago, the developers dropped Maple Grove Estates right on our border and formed their precious HOA. Victoria Langford, former city planner turned neighborhood dictator, got herself elected president faster than you can say property values. She measures grass with a laser level and sends violation notices for Christmas lights left up past January 3rd. First it was my fence encroaching 12 inches. Then came complaints about cattle odor impacting resale prices. Finally, she decided my gravel road somehow violated their entrance median aesthetics. Every month, a new envelope, a new threat, a new attempt to drag me into rules I never signed. I'd stayed quiet. I'd smiled through the meetings, paid the stupid fines when I had to, and told Lily, "Don't poke the bear, kid. We'll outlast them." But I'd been watching, recording every notice on my phone, noting dates, times, the exact wording. Patience isn't weakness, it's ammunition. And Victoria had just loaded the gun for me. Deputy Maria Santos arrived 20 minutes later, looking as confused as I felt. She knew me, her daughter and Lily were on the same volleyball team. Victoria launched into her Oscar-worthy performance. "Officer, this man is interfering with a legal assessment. We have full authority under Colorado statute." Maria asked for paperwork. Victoria produced a folder thick enough to choke a horse. Top page, notice of property forfeiture, $47,000 in accumulated fines, they claimed. My fence supposedly triggered an abandonment clause. Maria flipped pages, frown deepening. "Ma'am, county records still show this as Mr. Harlan's property." Victoria's smile never wavered. Ignorance of HOA covenants is not a defense. Certified mail was attempted multiple times. Refusal constitutes acknowledgement. I pulled out my phone, showed Maria my actual deed and tax receipts. I never received anything. Victoria's eyes flicked to my phone for half a second, just long enough for me to catch the flicker of panic. That tiny crack in her armor told me everything I needed to know. The auction sign wasn't even on the disputed line. It was 2 feet inside my fence, planted like a victory flag in soil my family had worked for decades. I pointed. "That sign is vandalism." Victoria's voice turned sweet as poison. "Touch it, and I'll have you arrested." By the time the assessors finished their little show, half the subdivision had wandered over. Some neighbors filmed on their phones like it was reality TV. Mrs. Patterson, whose dog I'd pulled out of my stock pond twice, suddenly found the clouds fascinating. Only old Bill Hendricks, 73, retired county surveyor, and the only man who still called me son, pulled up in his Ford and climbed out like he was walking into a bar fight. "Ryan, I tried calling you yesterday. These clowns were here then too." Victoria's smile tightened. "This is private HOA business, sir." Bill laughed, dry and sharp. "Lady, I surveyed land before you learned how to file a complaint. That fence hasn't moved an inch since Ryan's granddad built it." Deputy Santos finally shook her head. "This is a civil matter. I can't arrest anyone without a warrant." She looked straight at Victoria. And that sign is definitely on his side of the fence. Victoria's cheeks flushed the color of cheap wine. The emergency board meeting is at 2. We'll see what the board decides. She spun on her heel, Mercedes kicking up dust that settled on my grandfather's cedar posts like a final insult. I didn't go home to cry. I went to the barn, opened the old lockbox, and pulled out Granddad's 1967 survey, yellowed but ironclad. Then I started making calls. Quiet ones. The kind that don't scream, panic. My usual lawyer was on vacation. 2 others couldn't do weekends. Suspiciously convenient. But I've been patient for 3 years. I could wait one more day. The board meeting was at Victoria's McMansion, the one with the perfectly manicured lawn that somehow never triggered her own violation notices. I showed up anyway. She opened the door in pearls and a power blazer, smile frozen like a shark that smelled blood. Mr. Harlan, this is a private meeting. You're not an HOA member. I held up Granddad's survey. I'm the property owner you're trying to rob. That gives me a seat. The board was the usual suspects. Victoria as president, Dr. Richard Stanton, her golf buddy and secret investor. Jennifer Walsh, her real estate assistant. Marcus Chun, the only one who looked uncomfortable. And Patricia Vance, the lone voice of reason who always got outvoted. I laid everything out calmly. Original deed, tax records, Granddad's handwritten fence notes. Victoria waved them away like bad cologne. Those are outdated. Current covenants apply. She slid her own professional survey across the table, dated 2022, signed by some guy named Robert Kumar from Mountain West Land Services. I never heard of either. I want to call this surveyor, I said. Victoria's laugh was brittle. That's not necessary. It's certified. Dr. Stanton read from the covenant like it was scripture. Any encroachment onto common area constitutes abandonment. Jennifer produced meeting minutes, claiming I'd been notified. Wrong email address. ryanharlan.ranch@gmail instead of my actual ryan.h.harlan.ranch@gmail. Typo, she called it. I called it fraud. Bill Hendricks had followed me in. I check on Ryan's place every single day, he told the room. Never saw any surveyor. Victoria's eyes narrowed. Are you a licensed surveyor? Bill smiled slow. Retired county surveyor, still licensed. And that fence is exactly where it's always been. The vote was 3-2 to proceed with the auction. Victoria, Stanton, and Jennifer yes. Marcus abstained. Patricia no. Victoria leaned in close as I left. Timing is everything, Mr. Harlan. While you were grieving, the community moved forward. That's how progress works. I looked her dead in the eye. Progress usually doesn't require forged signatures and stolen land. Her smile twitched. First real crack I'd seen. That night Lily came home from her friend's house, eyes red. Dad, they're posting flyers. People are already asking if the ranch is for sale. I hugged her tight. They're not getting it, baby girl. I promise. But inside I was boiling. Not rage, cold, patient fury. The kind that builds evidence instead of burning bridges. I started documenting everything. Screenshots, timestamps, copies of every notice. I even drove to the county clerk's office at dawn and pulled the original subdivision plat from 2019. Pre-existing properties retain full autonomy. My ranch had been intentionally carved out. Victoria's amended covenant, extending HOA power over adjacent land, never approved by the county, never signed by me. Forged consent, plain and simple. Sunday morning, Victoria hosted a pre-auction viewing. 3 potential buyers strolled my pastures like they already owned the place. I sat on my front porch with coffee, smiling politely. Hi, I'm Ryan Harlan. I own this ranch. Interested in buying stolen property. The Denver developer left in under 5 minutes. The young couple looked torn. The real estate investor started grilling Victoria about title insurance. She stammered. My neighbor Tommy Martinez, 23, runs a rural YouTube channel with 47K subs, filmed the whole thing from his bedroom window. Ryan, this is gold, he texted. I'm going live tonight. I gave him the green light. Let the world watch. By Monday evening, local news was calling. Channel 9 ran the story. HOA ranch seizure sparks legal questions. Victoria first agreed to an interview, then ghosted. Dr. Stanton refused comment entirely. Lily, bless her, spent the night digging through Colorado statutes on her laptop. Dad, They never filed an auction permit. State law requires 30 days advance notice and proof of ownership. I called the county clerk Tuesday. Confirmed. No permit. Victoria doubled down anyway, hired armed security for auction day. Secure Shield. Two guys who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. The neighborhood was splitting. Nextdoor app turned into a battlefield. Mrs. Patterson finally cracked. Victoria fined me $2,000 for planting roses without approval. 3 other homeowners came forward with similar stories. I contacted property rights attorney Sarah Chun. She took the case after 10 minutes on the phone. This sounds like textbook fraud. Bring every document Wednesday. Wednesday morning, Sarah spread my papers across her conference table like a crime scene. Her face went from focused to furious in 60 seconds. Ryan, your ranch was never under HOA jurisdiction. The developer agreement explicitly excluded it. And this survey? She dialed the number on Victoria's document. Speakerphone. Robert Kumar answered. I never surveyed any Maple Grove property. That signature is forged. I'm filing criminal charges today. Sarah leaned back, smiling like a wolf. We've got forgery, wire fraud, identity theft, and attempted theft of real property. Plus motive. Victoria's real estate company has an exclusive listing agreement on your ranch. $140,000 commission if it sells. She's been planning this for months. By Thursday, my kitchen was a war room. Sarah, Bill, Tommy, and Kumar gathered around the table. Sarah had already filed an emergency injunction to stop Saturday's auction and requested a criminal investigation. FBI white-collar unit was interested. The emails Sarah uncovered showed Victoria writing to Stanton. Once we get Harlan's land, we split the profit. Stanton's reply. Are you sure this is legal? Victoria, legal is what we make it. Tommy went live again. Views hit 847,000. Donations poured in. The community formed Save Ryan's Ranch on Nextdoor, 127 signatures in 24 hours. Victoria panicked. She sent a certified letter demanding I vacate by Friday, claiming a restraining order that didn't exist. Her own board started crumbling. Marcus Chin resigned. Patricia Vance demanded an emergency vote to halt everything. Victoria tried bribing the county clerk to backdate a permit. Clerk recorded the call and called the sheriff. Secure Shield canceled their contract. We don't provide security for fraud, the supervisor said. Victoria screamed at him on speakerphone while we all listened in the kitchen. Pure black comedy. Friday night, my porch became command central. Supporters brought casseroles and resolve. Tommy's live stream peaked at 12,000 viewers. Legal experts in chat explained the charges in real time. FBI agent Rodriguez interviewed me at the ranch. This is systematic fraud, he said. We're opening a federal case. I slept maybe 2 hours, but for the first time in a week the weight on my chest felt lighter. Not because I was winning, because the truth was finally bigger than Victoria's lies. Saturday morning dawned cold and clear. Frost crunched under boots as supporters gathered before sunrise. Sarah with her briefcase of legal ammo. Bill with his surveying gear. Tommy with cameras. Kumar with proof his signature was stolen. 23 neighbors showed up. 4 news crews. Sheriff's deputies positioned themselves like they expected trouble. At 7 a.m., Victoria rolled up in her white Mercedes, Dr. Stanton shotgun, 2 unlicensed security guys in tactical vests behind them. She looked rattled, makeup caked over exhaustion. By 8 a.m., the crowd hit 67. Tommy's stream hit 18,000. News choppers circled overhead. Sarah walked straight to Victoria with the injunction papers. Ms. Langford, you are legally required to halt this auction. Victoria snatched the documents and ripped them in half on live television. The crowd gasped. Sheriff Martinez arrived at exactly 9 a.m., took one look at the torn papers, and shook his head. Ma'am, that was a valid court order. You just added obstruction to the list. Kumar stepped forward, voice carrying across the pasture. Ms. Langford, you forged my signature. I've never worked for your HOA. Victoria's face drained of color. Cameras zoomed. Phones recorded. Then 2 black SUVs pulled up. Agent Rodriguez stepped out. Victoria Langford, we need to speak with you about federal fraud charges. She tried to run the auction anyway, climbed onto a makeshift podium, no licensed auctioneer, voice cracking. This auction will proceed. Sheriff Martinez's voice boomed. Ma'am, step down. This auction is halted. At 9:45, Agent Rodriguez produced the warrant. Victoria Langford, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, identity theft, wire fraud, and attempted property theft. Handcuffs clicked. The crowd erupted in cheers that rolled across the valley like thunder. Victoria screamed, "This is harassment. I know my rights." Rodriguez read them anyway and suggested she use the right to remain silent. Dr. Stanton immediately started cooperating. Jennifer Walsh handed over her laptop full of emails. The two fake security guys stripped off their vests and vanished. I walked over to the auction sign that had started this nightmare. Sheriff, can I remove this now? He smiled. It's your land, Mr. Harlan. I yanked it out, broke it over my knee, and the crack echoed like a gunshot. The crowd roared. I stepped onto my porch, same wooden planks Granddad built, and held up the 1967 deed for every camera. This land belonged to my grandfather, my father, and now me. It's been in our family for 60 years. This fence was here before Victoria was born, and it'll be here long after she's forgotten. Sarah addressed the media next. Today we prove property rights still matter in America. No HOA, no matter how corrupt, can steal a family's legacy with forged documents. Sheriff Martinez added, we'll be reviewing every action under Langford's leadership. Victims of fraudulent fines, contact us. Agent Rodriguez closed it out. This sends a clear message. Using forged papers to steal property is a federal crime with serious consequences. 1 month later, the hammer fell. Victoria pleaded guilty to federal fraud charges, 3 years in prison, $500,000 restitution. Dr. Stanton got probation and a $50,000 fine. The HOA held emergency elections. Patricia Vance became reform president and issued a formal apology. New covenants were written with actual due process. The community healed. Mrs. Patterson brings me apple pie every Sunday. Former Victoria supporters now help mend fences. Tommy's series hit 2.7 million views and started a Know Your Property Rights channel used in law schools. Lily wrote her senior project on constitutional protections. Dad taught me standing up for what's right isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. I framed Granddad's deed in the living room beside his photo. Every evening I sit on that same porch, watching the sunset paint the mountains gold, cattle grazing peacefully, no violation notices in the mailbox. Just peace. And every time someone asks how I stayed so calm through the whole nightmare, I tell them the truth. I wasn't calm. I was patient. I watched. I documented. And when the moment came, I let the truth do the heavy lifting. Victoria thought grief would make me weak. She never understood that grief makes a man dangerous, because he has nothing left to lose and everything left to protect. So here's the question I want you to answer honestly in the comments. Was Victoria Langford the real villain here? Or was it the broken HOA system that handed one petty tyrant enough power to nearly destroy a family's entire legacy? Drop your thoughts below. Who do you think was truly in the wrong? Because the next time an HOA Karen comes for your home, you might be the one who has to decide.